Accounts committee at the bottom.
Time having arrived, I call this meeting of the Accounts Review Subcommittee of the Brockton City Council to order. Two of our colleagues let me know that Councilor Minicello is out of town and unable to join us. Councilor Tavares is not feeling well, so she's unable to join us as well. So we'll go on with our agenda for the evening. At the request of some constituents, we decided to ask the CFO to join us and give us an overview of, wherever you like, give us an overview of marijuana revenues, how much has come in, how it's allocated. So Troy's here to do that. And then from there, the next item we'll get to is our Munis account invoice demonstration, which is a item we carried over from the last meeting. And then they have a few items warrants that we had asked to see from the last meeting as well. And then we have the current warrant to review as well, and then that'll be the end. So, Mr. Clarkson, thank you for taking time to join us tonight. We really appreciate you being here. And if you want to take the floor and run with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to be here and happy to talk about this revenue source. So, provide a little background. Since the decriminalization of marijuana in Massachusetts, generally, not just here in Brockton, but in the Commonwealth, marijuana revenue is considered local receipts. It's you'll see when we make the overall budget presentation in a couple of weeks. It's a very small portion of the overall revenue for the city, but it is nonetheless an important revenue source. Here in Brockton, as with other communities, in the last several years, since the city has entered into agreements, host agreements with retail marijuana shops and with medicinal shops before that, there were a revenue source that I'll just call generally host community revenue. So cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth would execute host agreements with retailers, and they, according to those agreements, would then pay the city. There's another revenue source that is just the cannabis tax. And so marijuana establishments pay a tax much like restaurants pay a meals tax. The way that works is that those establishments pay the tax to the Commonwealth, and then the money comes back. So that's just how we get the motel tax, our meals tax, even the local option meals tax. That all flows to the Commonwealth, and then they pay us on a regular basis. So I have some figures, and the auditor's office have provided you the last 2 years. I'll just go back a couple more years just to provide some texture as to how this revenue has changed over the last several years. In 2020, and this is fiscal year, we received about $680,000 in marijuana revenue. Most of that was from those host fees, and back, that was just in the early days of the retail shop, so there wasn't a whole lot of revenue coming from there. But it has increased steadily over the last several years. In 2021, it was slightly over $1 million. Last year, in fiscal year 2022, it was almost $2.2 million. And I will pause there and say, of that, 1.4 million was in that host revenue category, and about 800,000 of it was in the cannabis tax. So far this year, and there are still, there's a month and a half left in the fiscal year, we've received about $1.3 million in the host revenue and about $1 million in the cannabis tax. The Commonwealth recently issued some guidance that they have concerns with the assessment of those host fees, not just here in Brockton, but throughout the Commonwealth. Many communities treated those host agreements in a similar fashion and saw them as opportunities to raise revenue through the marijuana industry. The Commonwealth has looked at that differently and is limiting, moving forward, the amount that can be collected. So moving forward, we will only be collecting, and there could be some residual, but I'm just speaking in generalities. We will be only collecting the cannabis tax, and so that the host fee revenue will decline as a result of the guidance from the Commonwealth. The good news is we have been very, very conservative in our projections for collection of marijuana revenue. For instance, if you go back to the budget book that we provided you almost a year ago, you'll see that our projection for marijuana revenue for this fiscal year was $1 million. We've collected over 2.3. And we did that on purpose, and this was before the Commonwealth changed the rules of the game, but we did that on purpose because, as you know, we always try to project our revenues conservatively because revenues in excess of projections flow directly to free cash. Revenues that fall short of projections impact free cash in a similar way, but in a negative way. So we always try to make sure with these revenues, particularly since this revenue source is fairly new, to be conservative. So this year, we projected $1 million. We're going to take in 2.3. When you see your new budget in a couple of weeks, and by the way, the mayor and I discussed this with the council president yesterday. We anticipate you getting your budget books on Tuesday, May 30th. That's a full 2 weeks before the budget hearing. So that'll allow you ample time, and I encourage you to come in, sit down, reach out, ask questions. So we want you to have as much time as possible to review that because it's a lot of information. We will be projecting $1.2 million in next year. And even though, again, we had $2.3 million in revenue, this year we expect those host fees to wind down. So we want to make sure we remain conservative in our projections, and so that'll ramp. That'll be at 1.2 million for next year. The way the revenue is treated right now, it just flows as general fund revenue. So although we track it separately, it comes in as general fund revenue. The council had done some work maybe a couple years ago on working to create a revolving fund where we could divert some of this revenue and then express some thoughts on priorities on how that money should be spent. That still needs some more work, and I think the city solicitor has provided some feedback to you on that. So the fund has been created, but there's still some more legislative work that the council needs to do to make that fully active. So right now, all of the money is going into the general fund, but we track it. In fact, all of those revenue sources, my team and I track on a monthly basis to make sure that those projections that we made were accurate. So $2.3 million is a lot of money, but in the big picture, when we're collecting $500 million, it's an important but not a large revenue source. That's pretty much all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from either of the councilors? Well, Councilor Lally?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. CFO, do you know, so we do need, I do remember we initially created or designated places where we wanted the money to go. We then ran into, like, it wasn't done right. There's some sort of problem or things had changed. So last term we did look at redesignating where that would go, not just filing the same thing and getting it done and putting it in the same place, but reevaluating where the priorities were. One of the priorities that sort of rose was making sure kids had stuff to do after school or over the summers, things like that. And so we still have stuff to do to fix that. Do you know offhand what is left, is anything that we still have to do, is any of it financial or is it all just legal?
No, I believe it's, and I can certainly check with the solicitor, but I believe it's just legal and administrative work that you need to do.
Okay.
I was here, I think it was when Councilor Rodriguez was mayor. He submitted something to the council that was voted and expressed some intent on how the money should be spent. I can tell you that the general intent was the cornucopia of services that the city provides currently. And you can't draw a direct, bright line between any funding source and any expense, right? Because it all comes in as revenue and then we spend it. But most certainly, the policy priorities that the council set during those deliberations are things that you spend money on. Like last year, you approved an increase in the mayor's budget for youth activities. And he has dedicated that money to increasing youth activities. And I'm sure during the budget hearings, we'll talk about that. So, you know, I think you certainly can draw a correlation between the council's policy priorities and being able to dedicate an additional $1 million or $2 million in revenue to the budget by supporting those initiatives.
Fair enough. Yeah, I always personally liked the expression "pot for potholes." That was my preferred solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. CFO.
All right. Anything? Do you happen to know, and I know I'm asking this kind of off the top of your head, the revenue that's come in, like, where has it gone? What have we done with it? Any specifics on that? Or is it just kind of in the general fund and it's going where to various different line items in the budget?
Yes, that's the answer, Mr. Chairman. So because it's general fund revenue, it supports all of the activities of the city. But it is, you know, let me put it this way. Although the total amount in the big picture is not a huge amount, think of it this way, though. When you look at the 2.5% increase in property taxes that were allowed every year and add on the new growth, for next year, that's about a $6 million increase when you take the 2.5 and the new growth. So adding $1 million, so $1 million in a $500 million budget is not a lot of money. We're increasing the levy by $6 million and adding in from 2020 to 2023, $2 million in revenue. That is a lot of money. So it really is, it's making a difference in our ability to expand the activities that we're able to support in next month's budget discussions. And as you know, the mayor is asking to form a new agency that from a policy perspective, I think is very important, and that is an Office of Immigration Services here in the city. You know, when we traveled to Cape Verde, we heard from the president and the prime minister, and then the ambassador just last month in Washington about the importance of having that linkage, not just for Cape Verde, but for Haitian and Angolan and folks from Senegal and other nations that come here. We're able to do things like that and propose a new initiative. That budget is a little over $300,000 because we're able to glean revenue from other sources.
Okay. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions on this matter, then I think we can move on. I thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And really appreciate the information, and yeah, I look forward to getting the light reading known as the budget.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I meant what I said. Come in. I'll meet anyone for coffee, off campus, however you want to do it. It's a lot of information, as you both know. So I want you to feel supported and prepared when you come in. I think the council president confirmed with the mayor and me yesterday it will be June 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Right.
We got the email today.
You did? Okay,
Yes.
Good. Good. All right. Thanks so much.
Sorry, on the budget book, will we get that emailed to us too? Or could we?
Yeah, so usually what we do is when we send it to you, we wait till you have it and then we upload a link to the website.
Okay, yeah.
And so we can, yeah, because it's 400 and,
It's a hefty, yeah.
more than 400 pages. And 3 years running, award-winning, and we have no reason to believe that this year won't be as well. So that's good news. And actually, your auditor was a huge part of that when she was the budget director, right? Karen and I collaborated on the first award-winning budget for the city.
Excellent.
They were thrilled to have her back. All right.
All right, very good.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the Munis account and invoice demonstration. Madam Auditor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to just give you an update that Munis, we had an upgrade in our system, and it just happened over the last week. Irene Giannopoulos, our assistant auditor, kind of spearheaded that, so I just wanted to give her some credit for doing that. But this is the new forward-facing module that we use internally, so I just wanted to kind of walk through the steps of what different departments do in terms of entering their requisitions for payments and what we do on our end in terms of reviewing it. So I just wanted to go to the requisition entry screen. So this is a screen, all departments would be using. So as they're adding information for what they're purchasing, as you can see, there's a general description. General description is usually something that matches the statutory category that we have in our budget book. We always are looking to make sure that what they're expending matches up with the actual charter account description. Then it allows them to put in the vendor information, all the mailing information, different source notes. If we have vendor quotes, the system allows us to put vendor quotes in. And at the bottom, we have a workflow. So there's different approvers that are reviewing the requisitions that have been entered before we actually create a purchase order. As I mentioned last week, departments will purchase different goods before they can pay the bill. They have to enter the requisition. It's then approved. Once it's approved, we'll verify that there's money in the account, then we'll process the invoice. So this is just the screen that allows all of the departments to actually enter the invoices. I'm going to go into the next screen. So every morning, every morning we'll go, within our office, myself and the assistant auditor will go through. This gives you a list of all the requisitions that departments have entered. So we have the requisition number, we have the person that actually entered it, a description of what it is, the amount, and it shows the amount that they're looking for. We will go in and we'll review these. So we can click on any one of them. I'll just click on one, for example. And with this, there are different approvals. So if it's something that we have reviewed and we can view the requisition, if it's something that we feel we can approve, we can look and see the budget codes that are associated, and this is something as we get towards the end of the fiscal year, a lot of people are looking to close out the budgets, buy different supplies, but we have internal controls put in place, so as we're looking at amounts that departments are looking to spend, we're going back into the actual budget to see how much money they actually have in the budget. If they don't, then they'll have to work with the finance department to find out how that expenditure can be approved. So these are, so you have different approvals. We have reject, we have hold. So for any one of these, we can view the requisition. So the requisition, it gives you a little bit more information on what they have, what this is for Eastern Spring. So they have water that's being delivered. If they have any type of quotes, if they have notes, if it's a contract, they will put that contract information into these different screens. So this allows us to just really get a really good understanding of what people are purchasing. And this is reviewed every morning by myself and the assistant auditor. Once we approve these, and it goes through a process that, the purchase orders are printed and provided to the department. If it's rejected, if we reject it, we'll get an email. Mike Morris, depending on procurement, if it's over a certain dollar amount, he also will look at some of these, but the main thing is that we're making sure that the contract is, is provided, that they have all the necessary information. We have a contract rounding form that's sent around anytime a vendor is ordering something more than 50,000. So what we'll do here is review it, make sure there's that we actually have a contract. So we have different folders. We have contracts that we can verify on the invoice that's being paid.
Okay.
And when we get to the purchase orders, once the purchase order has been printed, provided to the staff, then they will submit a warrant schedule to our office, and we'll review that. We'll review the actual invoice, and we'll go through that as you look through the purchase orders that you want to pay. All of the departments are required to attach all the invoices to appeal. Before we pay a bill, we're looking at the backup to whatever they've submitted. We're making sure that it falls within the fiscal year. We're making sure that we're not reimbursing people for sales tax. We're making sure that the expense that they have incurred is an allowable expense for the city. And if it's not, then we'll reject it, and we'll send the purchase order and invoice back to the department, letting them know that this is not going to be paid. And they would have to either, sometimes people, departments have to pay it themselves if it was an expense that's not allowable. We're working on putting material together so that departments understand what's an allowable expense based off of best practices and guidelines that we have from DOR.
Great.
Just want to see this. So this is what I just wanted to show you in terms of the amount of information that we can enter into Munis. And there's probably even more with the upgrade. There's more areas that we can use. But the most important thing is that we want to make sure that the information that's here is transparent, and so anyone that's looking to get this information, it would be available. Do you have any questions, just in terms of that process?
I mean, I don't. I was just wondering, and certainly I want both my colleagues to have the chance to ask any questions they have, but I was wondering if I'm a department head or whoever in the department would enter things on behalf of that department, and we're maybe getting close or exceeding the amount of money in an item, right? Is there somewhere that I'm going to see that when I'm in there?
Yes. So we have been working with our Munis consultants, and we're putting in measures so that when someone enters something at the org level, that they'll get an email, and we're putting a limit at 90%. So once they've hit 90%, we'll go through to make sure there's enough money in the account, but they also will get an email alerting them there's no money available. And those are things that we are putting in place other than manually checking it. So, but with the new upgrade, that is something that's allowed, and that's something that we'll be putting in place, mainly for FY24.
Okay.
It's a new system.
Right.
Anything, we're setting it at 90%, so that departments, once they get to 90% and then working with the finance department, they're sending all of the departments a copy of their budget and what's been spent on a monthly basis. Then we'll go through that and let them know that, they don't have any money, and then if that's the case, they'll have to go to council before we get to the point where, they're overspending.
Right, okay, right. And I know that report that Troy presented to us in council was very helpful. It showed, like, I think at that point in the year, everybody should have been no more than 60%. That was really helpful to be able to, I'm sure it's a very useful tool for you.
Yes, and as we move into the end of the fiscal year, this is something that we review on a weekly basis. So the finance department will send us a report weekly where departments are in terms of spending. Sometimes there are expenses that were incurred in a particular org or object code, and it should have been expensed out of the grant. So as we move forward to the end of the fiscal year, we're looking at journal entries that are, reclassification of expenditures that we do, and some backup that we can supply. So during this time is the time when we'll start doing different journal entries that require them. They're not that many, but there are some that come up. Sometimes there's chargebacks that we apply.
Okay, great. Any questions, counselors? No?
Seems pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Very expensive as well, yes. Yeah. What does Munis run us? Someone told me once, it was like 800 grand seems to come to mind, but that might be way off.
It's about $500,000.
$500,000, all right, so it's not quite as bad as I thought.
Couldn't hear your question.
Oh, what does Munis cost us?
Oh.
So it's about a $500,000 program, okay, all right.
Not bad. It's a job.
In the big scheme of things.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, so if there's nothing else on item 2, we can go on to item number 3, follow-up of warrant P23092, which was from the last meeting. And again, the auditor has that information.
So there were 2 purchase orders within that warrant that there were questions, we were having some technical problems. One was for the president and fellows of Harvard College. I printed a copy, and I can pull this up on the screen of the actual invoice. This is for a grant that covers the trainer model for Stop the Violence. So it's a grant that the city received, and this is one of the vendors that is providing the service to the school department. And I just printed this for everybody, and I can pull it up as well.
Okay.
So, and I'll just show you when you pull it up on the system, how you'll see all of the backup documentation.
Great, thank you.
We separate the school department and the city.
So all of their stuff flows through to
Flows
our,
into the.
so we see everything. Their accounts committee only sees their stuff.
Oh, okay, so it comes.
They still get audited.
Oh, I still get all.
Yep.
I see.
Trying to show the PO with the backup attached?
Yes.
Go to purchasing. Oh, you got it.
That was for the president and fellowship for Harvard College. There was another purchase order that was requested. Give Bear one. The second invoice that was questioned was vehicle repairs. There was amount for $12,061.93.
Yep.
And so within this PO, that was paid, where you can see the amount that was paid, we have the $12,061.93. And as part of the attachment, it shows all of the backup for everything that was part of that invoice in terms of what we're paying. It consists of, so this is a copy of the purchase order. They have a list of all the different repairs and invoice numbers. Anything that comes to our office, this is just a copy of the purchase order. When we receive it, we provide a copy to the departments. Anything that comes back to our office to be paid, we stamp it, that it's been received, and then we have a member in our admin staff or accounts payable that audit the invoice to make sure that the invoice is eligible to be paid, and so everything that we have here as they would get it, which states that when it was paid, when it was audited, it was received. So we're tracking everything that's being done.
Okay. Do you have, it looks like you do, like 12 grand and it said minor auto repair. $12,000 does not sound like a minor auto repair.
So these are all the different invoices that
Okay.
add up to the 12,000.
All
So
right.
these are, there's a lot of different repairs. So
There-
this is one where they had a brake leak for the brake pads, air filters. This bill came to $1,321. And it has a list of all of the different invoices for work that they've done. And this was for the police department. So a lot of times we get invoices, and instead of doing a purchase order for every invoice, if it's going to be paid for a vendor, they may submit all the invoices together, and
Okay.
you'll see the gross amount. But the backup, we go through and make sure that the amount that they're submitting adds up to the amount that's on the invoice.
Okay. Yeah, if we can I'm just curious what some of these are.
So,
Yeah.
and I can, if you want, I can always print these and email them, and so I have a list of all the invoices that have been submitted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, through the chairman, because we flagged this item as something to look at, if we got it in an email, I think
Oh,
that,
definitely. I could
Great.
print that.
you know, just so, because there's a lot of them, we want to make sure we, look at them on our own time. I mean,
Okay.
this is the purpose of the meeting, but I'm sure the folks at home are, super entertained by watching us watch this.
Hey, that's why we're here, so.
That's it.
Okay.
But we've also got the new warrants.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Battery terminals. It all looks pretty routine. There's just a lot of it.
We have a lot of cars.
Right, between the police, cars, DPW vehicle. I mean, what's that? Can you just go back up one page? there was a ton of stuff that looked like that. There we
Yeah.
go. That's one I wanted to see. I just wanted to peek at that. It looked like
all
there
the
was,
small stuff.
okay, so there was just a lot of little nitsy-natsy stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, if you could email this out to us, when you have a chance.
So, for something like this, we'll have 25 pages of
Right.
documentation that we go through and review. And this was just one tab within the invoice tab. As you can see, there's additional
Oh, right.
ones. And so everything is logged here and attached, and we're able to identify and have backup. And this is just part of how we can be more transparent. Do you have any questions on?
Counselor Texera, I think you had a question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I got a question. I see on the auto repair, which other garage that we use in the city other than Lynch?
I'm sorry.
I said, which other garage that we use in the city other than Lynch?
I'd have to run a vendor activity report. I know
Yeah, because
different departments use different places, different parts, but I don't know, because these are all purchases coming from the police department. I can find out what vendors they use for
Which
repairs.
one? Yeah, I really appreciate that. If we could get
Okay. Counselor Lau?
To sort of follow up with Councilor Tixera's question, do you know off the top of your head, Madam Auditor, if that's like I believe it is, but I don't know this, right off the top of my head. Is this that's something that's contracted out, or is it?
Depends on the amount of money that you can spend. So
Right.
We have a contract for, if it's something that's been procured, and we put it out to bid where we're only gonna use a particular vendor, then we would go through procurement, and sometimes the state has vendors that they've already procured, and which doesn't require this, city to go out to bid.
Which
So
doesn't,
they can use
okay.
it, that's on state contract, but
So
that's how it happens.
if the police department can generally assume that, judging off of what they've spent so far, that they're going to spend more than $10,000, which means that they'd have to put it out to bid. They could either put it out to bid or defer to the state contract list.
So, no, what happens is that if it's over 50,000, so usually,
50,
10,000
okay.
is, you want to get 3 quotes, look around for different vendors that you want to use. Sometimes there's only vendors that have the different supplies, so if it's emergency, then they'll have sole source. So if there's a certain vendor that only supplies that particular item, if it's emergency, there's different exceptions that the Inspector General's office was required. But one thing that we try to do within auditing is, as we move departments away from submitting payments just to pay invoices, and we get them kind of trained and just a change in practice of encumbering the entire contract value and what they think they're going to spend, it helps us to track that. So if we see vendors,
Don't mind.
excuse me, I'll repeat what I was saying. Depending on the vendor, if it's emergency or it's a vendor it's the only vendor that can supply a particular part, there's different exceptions to Mass General law in terms of having to procure a contract, and you can still use that vendor. What we do in auditing, because we're getting departments away from paying invoices with just a PO. Submitting a PO, which was past practice, and encumbering the total amount of what they think they're going to spend. So as we are going through and we're reviewing these each day, we're looking at vendors and we're saying, okay, we see this vendor is being used a lot. Is there a contract? Because when you add up the total amount of what's been spent by a vendor, a contractor, within the fiscal year, you want to make sure that we're allowing for every vendor to have the opportunity to service the city. So if it's something that we realize, hey, this is going over the amount of the threshold, if you look at each invoice that has been paid, let's look and make sure that has been procured, or let's make sure that this is on a state contract. If it's on a state contract, it doesn't have to go through procurement.
All right. Makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So those were the only two that were leftovers from the last meeting, I think.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on this last one, this last invoice?
No.
Nope. All right. I think we can move on to item number 4, which is the current warrant. And Counselor Lally, if you want to kick us off.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a quick question to start to help navigate this, both for myself, my colleagues, and you guys as well. If I'm asking what account, so there's an expense for Air Gas East. I'm aware of what that is. I'm just using it as an example. And I'm trying to figure out where it came from, building department, parks department, whatever. Which one of these numbers is the department?
So for a lot of the purchase orders for the department are usually the first 3 digits. We have different brands. One thing that we're in the process of looking at the chart of accounts, because this is a munis function, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of areas where where there needs an improvement. These are controls that are set within munis. So what we'd like to have is all the purchase orders are designated by the first 3 digits of the department code within that number. For sometimes they're not, because it's just the way the chart.
Yeah.
It's the way the chart account is set up. But there is a way when you look at the actual PO, and I can show you where you can drill down. And we do this a lot because we can't go just by the department. We want to know what object code did this come out of,
Right. Well, I meant like if I'm looking at, to use it again, Air Gas East, which one, there's the vendor number, there's something listed as account, but then there's another line listed as account. So which cluster of numbers is the one in which, if I knew the number for the department, I could just say, oh, well, that's being paid for by the building department.
Yes. So if you're looking at page 1, and I'll just briefly go through the different columns. So you have the invoice date, you have the voucher number, you have the PO, you have the check number, your check date, but the GL account is a general ledger account. The general ledger accounts are set up based off of the department. So usually the first 4 digits are the fund code. So there's different segments of how munis is set up. When you go into the enterprise funds, the POs are set up differently than the actual fund codes. So you have to kind of drill down. But if you're looking at it, under the GL account, the first set of numbers, 3004, that particular fund is a grant. Anything that starts with like 01 is one of the city departments. Anything that starts with like a 1, that's a school department. And then you have the object code in terms of where, if you go over one more, it says GL. The second number, the 542, we'll say 301 on the first line, that represent the object code as a description of what they're actually purchasing. It falls under that category.
Okay. All right. That was, okay. That was where I was trying to, so at the bottom of page 1, 2427, who is that?
This looks like it's a grant. Anything that is a 2, you would have to drill down and look at the actual PO, and this is just how Munis's chart of accounts have been set up. And there's different crosswalks and links that was set up years ago. But to find the actual department, and I know this is for the school, I could drill down.
Yeah, I was figuring it was for the schools, but I just wanted to make sure that if anyone's paying to hire amazing animal ambassadors, it was the schools. I just wanted to make sure that was where that was going. On page 21, most of the way down, we have $8,400 to Auker's company, who does, a lot of the, video and sound stuff, I know for the council chambers, and I'm sure for the city as a whole. But the city council has had, through the clerk, some back and forth and some difficulty with some of the sound quality and the way it's transferred or picked up. And they did a lot of work and we paid them, you know, we paid them for it. So I, you know, see it's for building 4210U, for equipment and supplies. I was wondering what building, but more importantly and more to the point, I just wanted to make sure that if they have, because we've had some trouble lately, if what they did still does not work, I want to make sure we're not paying them again. If that makes sense. So I don't know if
No, it
you
does.
know what that, I don't know if you know offhand or through the system what that is.
I can pull it up and I can look at it. This is
Okay.
for the school department, anything.
Oh, it's for the schools. Okay.
Anything that starts with a 1-6, anything that starts with a number 1 or 2 is the school department. Anything that starts with a 0, you're looking at the city side. But I can-
Okay, well, my concern is less said. I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't us putting more money into the chambers when, you know, we already paid them to do the job. So I wanted to make sure that that was that. So if it's in the schools, all right.
And I can reach out to Aldo or Chris
Okay.
Curry in terms of this, and we can find out and send you an answer on that question and what the specific expense was for, whether it was for security cameras or if it was equipment at the school department. We can provide that. And I know with ARCers, we have a contract with them, so we, you know, try to make sure that the work that they're performing within the contract, you know, matches up to the invoice that's being submitted.
Yeah, and the only other thing I had, if you'll indulge me, colleagues, is that at page number 6, there is something at the top for Brockton Community Schools, but the way this came out, I don't know how much money or what. I was just idly curious to see, you know, why are they on the receiving end of. Why are they on the receiving end and how much are we giving them?
I can look into that. I can pull that up if you like.
Yeah, it looks like the scanner just hiccuped a little bit.
Yeah, I just had a
Yeah,
part of the
glitch in the matrix.
part of life. The matrix. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared
Dating myself.
to fight my way out of the matrix.
So as we're just looking at this, I'll just go through and get the amount. I mean, if you, just give me a minute. Part of this payment on this sheet was cut off, so I'll have to look and see what was covering this up.
Yeah.
And I can email that to you just in case.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's more than 133 invoices.
They are well paid.
And let's see if I can pull up another way. One thing we can do with these reports is we can look at, for a particular vendor, we can look at invoices. As you can see, there's different attachments here with backup. It looks like this is for extended day, and so for each extended day service, as you can see, the amount that we expensed was the total $4,584, but it gives you a breakdown of every invoice. And then if you go back, you can actually pull up the actual invoice and you can view it to see exactly what was paid, what was on
Okay.
it. But there's so many under
Right.
this community schools, I'd have to move out there.
Well, no, it's fine. It's more, it's fine. If it's for if it's for extended day, then that answers my question. And then my question is more of a policy question to the school department as to why we are paying them for extended day, but that's probably just how the finances work. So I will inquire about that on my own.
Okay, I'm
I'd be
gonna,
happy to share that with you guys, don't worry, but
so
idle
this is,
curiosity.
this is just an example of one of the invoices for community day, just to kind of get an idea of what they are expensing and what they're paying for. So as you go through, there's different schools extended, this is extended day services for McKinney Ventral students.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
has the different schools and the dates that they were paying. So they opened up invoices. This is for Angelo, so this is the invoice that the school department would receive that's approved by Aldo in the school department, and then it states the service and then the dates that they serve the different schools.
Well, McKinney Pinto, that explains that.
Yes.
So I
Okay.
can,
What a law. What a law. Nope. All right, that makes sense. Okay. No, I appreciate it. And that, Mr. Chairman, is all I had.
All right.
Thank you.
Counselor Texera, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. I got a couple questions. On page 1, go back to page 1. Top of the list, $293,215. It says,
which page are you?
page 1. It says Equipment Repair, Inc., or AJ. Let's get it.
I wanted to show you one thing. So this was equipment repair. There's one thing that I wanted to show you before we look at that invoice. Let's see if we can- that one. So this was the equipment repair. So it shows what they did, 20 yards of New Way Road rear load packer. And there was a crane. We had the body, we had the weight, chassis, deposit. For, I guess there was some hydraulics that they were doing. As you,
Okay.
this
So we
looks like it
purchased
was
a crane.
for
Oh, we just
All
bought a
a
crane.
vehicle. If you go back, we can always look at the account code
It's not the sweep.
that it was charged to and what,
What, can you go back up?
Yeah.
I know we bought some, I think we bought some sweepers or something.
Yeah, it could be.
What is that?
Well, would it be on the deed?
Yeah, would it be on the certificate of origin?
oh, what were you?
Not
They
deed,
want
I'm
to see
sorry.
the second page.
Yeah,
They want to see the certification.
Oh,
that's right. I look
sorry.
at those all day, so. Okay. Crane carry, no, that's a trucking and chassis. That looks more like a crane truck.
Which we do have.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, no. That's my question. Okay, so we brought out a truck.
So basically, we bought that vehicle?
Equipment,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
It's from the city.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is it under the city on the title?
Well, it would, the department will show up.
Yeah, it would be on the back.
So if you wanted more information, and we'll say if we get a call, and someone says, you know, what is this for? What department? Who ordered this? The way that we would look at it, and I'll just show you. So as we go down, we can see that this equipment, and it's based off of the jail code, there was a grant.
Yeah.
And that grant allowed for the purchase of this particular equipment. So what I do is, we are, over the last 11 months that I've been here, I've been reconciling all the grants that the city has received, making sure that they're being expensed. I've been working with a lot of agencies. So just with this information alone, we then can go into another account screen, which I can show you. This is a pretty old, I think this is an older grant. Let's see. So this was through ARPA funds. This is through ARPA funds.
Okay.
So there, in the finance department, anything that we purchase that has been approved, use of ARPA funds, will set up a fund code. And that fund code will have an object code, and as the expense occurs, then the department will use that particular code. But there's so many different things within Munis. There's so many different things in Munis that allows us to really drill down. One thing that we're trying to do moving forward with the grants is that the fund codes actually match the names that have been approved by City Council. So as you approve a grant in City Council, our department will set up the grant, but the grant name will be specifically based on what was stated in the council order. There have been, and we're using a new grant module system, so we can literally go into a grant and we can see the agency, we can see when the grant was awarded, we can add information in terms of the grant. So these are just different areas where we can drill down and get more information that allows us to make decisions on, paying the invoices.
If I may, through the chair, I think, I do recall that this came up in council a couple of times, using ARPA to purchase a couple of sort of support vehicles that we needed. I know they were buying I don't know if it was with ARPA, but they bought a couple of snow plows too, sidewalk plows.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that conversation.
Councilor Minicello was keeping his eye on it. All right.
If it's anything that, if you wanted at one of the accounts committee meetings, you wanted to have the accounts committee on ARPA and looking at, what is the city spending the ARPA funds on? That's something that, we could put on the agenda, and you can kind of just have an idea of, the number of nonprofits that are receiving funding, how often they're getting payments from the city. And then you can kind of get an idea of how the city's spending the money that we got. That money, as you look at the final rule of the federal government, was really to assist businesses and people based off of the impacts of COVID.
Back to page 1. It says page 1, but I don't think it's page 1. You have that,
Oh, that's the last page, yeah.
but it says page 1.
It's random. Oh, yeah. Okay.
My question is that a void check or a credit?
Yes, so what page?
It says the last page.
Which page?
Again.
Yeah, so part of our vendor warrant schedule, sometimes there's voids, sometimes there's refunds, and they're all put on our vendor warrant schedule. And so you'll see that in there. Our vendor warrant schedule it's a gross of everything in terms of payments, credits that we have to put on the warrant, and that's mainly so that our general fund and our cash is consistent with reconciling with the treasurer's office. So if there's a void, or they have a reduction in their cash accounts, we want to make sure that on the general fund side that we are accommodating for that same transaction. So you will see some voids in here.
Some void.
Yes.
Got another question on page 4. Anthony Sampson.
Counselor, could you repeat the
Anthony Sampson.
Anthony Sampson, sir? So this is for the school department. This is for the school department, and this is for a community mentor that they have contracted services for, and pull up the invoice. And he's providing mentoring program district-wide as a community mentor. And it shows his service that he provides to the school department.
you want to jump, just go ahead.
if I may.
Yeah, you may.
$455 for 7 hours, $65 an hour. That's a decent amount of money. Is that,
This is a service that's provided by the school department. Oh.
well,
This is a service that's approved by the school department. And so, I mean, I could contact Aldo and Chris and I can get additional information on, what type of contract they would have with this gentleman.
I don't know whether it would be better for us to have that, like, answers come here, or if that's a whole independent discussion, but I wouldn't object to finding out at the next meeting.
Yeah, we could do that. Maybe we can get put that on the agenda for the next meeting and get some more details on this, because, I mean, that's $135,000 a year if it were a 40-hour-a-week position. I know it's spread out like that, but.
I mean, we have more than one mentor.
135 grand, I'll do it.
All right.
I can add this to the agenda for the next accounts committee, and I'll work with the school department to get any backup that you need.
Thank you. I get 30 now.
I'll be happy with 25.
All right.
I think that was it. I got a couple more, but this is a question for the audit. I got a question for you because I did it at Brockton Housing, and at Brockton Housing, they will do the check number, the vendor, what's it for, and how much is it. When we did, it made our stuff so much easier, like because we have an idea, and if it was cleaning, they would say cleaning. If it was housekeeping, this is like. This is my first time here doing this, but when I see Anthony Sims, I go, who is he? If it would say from school department and a mentor, at least that will give us an idea. Say, you know what? He's from the school department, he's a mentor, he gets $65 an hour. That will give us an idea first. Just a name and how much he got paid. I don't know, he got 18, 20. We don't know how many hours. It was just a bill.
This is a summary report that Munis within our financial system provides. There are other different reports. If you are looking, we'll say, at an individual line and you want to see how much has been paid, you can get different reports that may provide you information that you're looking for. So I'll give you an example, and I can give you an example, and you can look at how the accounts are laid out, the amount of information that's available. But there are different reports. This is the vendor warrant report that Munis prints after we do the warrant, but there may be other reports, and I can talk with the Munis consultants to see if that's something that you like. But I'll just give you an example. If we were to pull up account, you can see how many vendors were paid, what they were paid, the dates that were paid. It gives a little bit more information. So there's a lot of data here, but there's only a certain number of fields that we're allowed to input things. That's why we're requiring every department to scan a copy of the invoice and what we're viewing, because there's only so many fields of Munis that can give different descriptions for what they're doing. And most of the descriptions are on the PO, on the purchase order. But I can show you another section of Munis where we can get, additional information that might be something that you'd be interested in seeing. And I can see if there's a report. I'll pull it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. All right, I have a few myself. My colleagues pointed out some of the ones I had as well, so we can skip those. That was... So there's a couple in here that I see that are reference excise tax. Are those abatements? Because it looks like it's going to the individual, not coming in. Is that, I assume those are all abatements?
They could be abatements or they overpaid.
Okay, that's what I figured, but I just wanted to make sure. that my assumption was accurate. And then, and this is one of those, it's not a ton of money, but when we get these generic categories, it just, I don't know, it just bothers me, so I gotta ask. It's only $95, but it's in there as other charges. So the, what do you want, the PO number?
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 3. And it's And Co. Inc.
Okay.
Second to the, or it is the, no, it's second to last, I think.
Yep.
So I'll pull this invoice up, and just to answer your question in terms of object codes, one of the things that I'm working on in the city is kind of housekeeping. We have thousands of object codes, and some have never been set up, or they've never been used. And so we're working on putting together a chart of accounts that can be provided to every department, that each object code would represent a charge that they would, they would be spending the money on. If they don't have an object code already set up in the system, then it usually goes into other category. And so those are things that we're working on, so that everyone has the resources to be able to enter them into particular object codes. This is a lot of work we're doing in terms of the whole chart of accounts and streamlining and making sure that everybody has the same information. And so we'll be putting together a resource guide that will be provided to departments with the org codes, with the object codes, with the description of what the object codes. Some will be deleted, others will be added as we see. And I work very closely with the finance department. So if they have an expense and there isn't an existing object code, then I'll create it. That way we're making sure that we're transparent and that people are charging it to the proper chart of accounts. But I'll pull that invoice up for you.
Right, okay. And when you, and I know that's a work in progress, you said of putting that document or what have you together for the departments. But once that is complete and you're distributing it, if you could distribute it to the accounts review subcommittee, I think that would help us, when we're looking this stuff over. As well as, I know we had talked about this previously, just a one-page cheat sheet of, this code is this department, right? Like you said, like the 1 or 2s, those are school. Like just kind of that cheat sheet of those codes so that we know when we're looking at these on our own.
Oh, sure. I can get you.
Oh, that's
It's not one page. It's probably about 20 pages.
Oh,
or 30.
whatever it is.
But I will provide that to you.
Okay.
Okay, this is the transportation office in the school department, and so as we're looking at information, we can see that, the description is for transportation. It has the ship to. If you scroll down, we have the object code for which the item was being expensed to. 57000 is an object code for, I'll have to look at the description for that object code, as there is many. And so because it's not uniform and different ones are set up depending on what was expensed, I can go through and I can show you what that code actually represents.
Okay. A latch. Some kind of a latch, it looks like. Okay. It looks like it's a repair of some kind to one of the buses, I would.
Yes, and I just
Yeah.
want to check something.
Based on the second page there that's attached. Okay.
A lot of times, as we're looking at a lot of times as we're looking at the chart of accounts, we will see what is available to departments as they're entering requisitions. They're only able to enter it with the codes that were previously set up in the system. So as we change the chart of accounts and we get it to departments, and we'll be updating the system to make sure that that particular object code for repairs or separation costs or a charge that they may not have used in the past is actually part of the object codes that they can select when they're paying these bills.
Okay. Great. All right. Hang on, I gotta sneeze. Nope, maybe not. I hate that. All right, so moving along, page 2. And I think it's part of this lengthy Amazon list, and I'm guessing this is probably school. But there is one in here, there's the gap that, because of the scanner issues, then third one down for $2,949, RC office sup. I was just curious as to, I mean, it's obviously office supplies, but for where?
I can pull that.
Okay.
Whatever building is 3,100.
And I don't know what building 3100 is yet.
Yeah.
This is for the school department.
I figured. I recall they buy quite a bit through Amazon.
Yes. Probably buy quite a bit of office supplies.
Yes, yes, they do. Instructional materials, a lot of that comes through Amazon.
Buy that plate. You think they got Prime?
Prime. Yeah, they should have Prime.
Did you save on shipping?
This much they order, you save on shipping, you get it
They
quicker.
spend, they should have Prime.
I think they should have a Prime account, yeah.
Next time,
The volume they do?
Yeah,
that's
right?
my wife.
Let's see, Amazon order. Computer
Right there, it's monitor.
We don't know where it went, but it looks like it's a computer monitor.
I have
20 computer monitors.
That's 20.
Okay, so that's probably, those were probably distributed to several buildings throughout, and some paper.
There were some whiteboards,
Okay.
adjustable shack mounts.
Okay. It wouldn't surprise me if that building code was facilities, if maybe all this went to facilities and then was dispersed.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Dave, you covered that one already.
What page?
5. First item, it's the first item. Bergman, Hendry, and Archetype, Inc., $52,000. I just wanted to see what we paid them, 52 grand to design for us.
Is that our pool?
It could be.
Yeah.
It might be.
Back
The
quick.
lipstick on the. I hope not.
Yeah, right.
Better not be. All joking aside.
Karen, I think it's the 541, that PO number.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, 541.
I was looking at the wrong line.
Yep.
So this is for the Council on Aging, and we have a contract with Varney
there
and
it is.
Hedry, and I'll pull up
Yeah.
the invoice of what they were charging.
Okay. All right, so I bet that's probably for the renovation work they're doing over at the COA.
Mm.
So let's see.
It's different. That's it.
Check here.
I think it's that last one.
I'm gonna look at that.
Yeah, 261118. Yeah, that's it.
So this is a contract that we have with the senior center. The total contract value is $485,000, and this shows the fees that they charge on the
Okay,
invoice that was submitted. for
So
the
this
firm.
must-
So this is for the final design.
yep. Okay, so it is for the design of the work we're doing to the COA building.
Yes.
Okay, great. That makes a lot more sense now. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
No, I'm good on that one. Yeah, okay. I got another one here on page 12. Future Technologies Group for $389,134.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I unfortunately have to leave, but Irene Giannopoulos, Assistant Auditor, will continue with the meeting.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Tell me
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Have a great evening.
From what we've learned so far, I can tell you that's a grant.
Paid for by a grant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Or you know.
See? And that's why, as we get more, the list of codes. Thank you. We can, we'll know more just based on having the list of the codes.
The code that definitely will help us.
Right. So some of the questions we're
So we
asking
don't have to,
may not even,
need to
right, we
ask.
may be comfortable.
Yeah. Well,
you can't ask.
the question is,
You understand
the
that.
question could be what did we buy or where did it go? But
Right.
We know,
Right now it's-
we know how we bought it. We bought
Right.
it
At
through
this
a
point,
grant.
it's still who bought it. Then we'll get to what? 43 Crescent Street.
Cobb's.
All right. Well, they are like 56% of our city budget or something like,
They-
56?
No.
You tell me.
It's 52.
52?
Not even.
I think now
They
it's
don't-
closer to
40s.
48.
40,
Yeah.
no, I was.
48.
48.
48, 'cause
Department.
it was 52 for a couple of years, now it's 48.
No, but the budget last year was what? 222.
Too much.
Too much.
So these are security cameras. I'll just pull up the invoices. This is the
Okay.
largest one.
Yeah, that's the one I was,
We're asking.
all right, so we got security cameras
Yep.
for the school department.
Fair enough.
Just go back.
A lot of schools.
Yeah.
Schools.
A
No,
lot of
you know what?
buildings. The school department
I
has
bet,
a
and
surprising
I
amount of
noticed,
property.
I was down at the Kennedy, it was the Kennedy that I noticed it, or maybe it was in Hancock. I was in one of the schools fairly recently, and I noticed some new
New cameras.
security equipment, so this is probably the invoice that goes with that.
Enough.
Okay.
Is Servers,
firewalls,
Okay,
switches.
Okay,
This is a huge chunk out of an existing contract.
okay.
Just move down slowly so you can see everything.
video surveillance for Brockton. You know what, and I remember, I mean, it's been a year and a half since I was over there, but at that point, we were talking about the fact that the server was full for the cameras for the school department, and they couldn't add any, so I know that there was an upgrade coming. So this is, maybe that's what this is finally getting that upgrade done so they can add additional cameras. Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Let's see which. And then, I think, yeah, I'll make this the last. Well, it's a one. Actually, this is probably, I think we said that was school department.
What page?
17, it's down here, there's the vendor's Paula Maduro. I'm guessing that's the
16 is schools.
yeah, 16 is schools. I mean, let's look at it, but I'm guessing that's probably, like the other gentleman that you asked about, mentoring or.
Anthony.
Yeah,
is-
well,
yeah,
that was my guess, but if you look at the year-to-date, we're paying them 2,500 and they've only had 2,500
Oh, that's true.
2 days, so.
You know, yeah, let's look at that one then.
Counselor, are we looking at Paula Madore, 2,500?
Yes, please.
So this is school. I'm sure you guys
Yep.
picked up on that now. Theos. The GL rather, the GL account. Okay. So the administrative offices. Okay. Okay, so it's a consultation for the yearbook.
So we paid 2,500,
That's down payment,
but we got 7,500 to go, it looks like.
Yes.
Jesus, 10,000.
Blanket
We have
purchase
a,
order.
we have a yearbook consultant?
That we paid $10,000 to, apparently.
Consultation and composition.
So it's like the layout and the,
Yeah.
okay.
That,
Use the previous one.
when I was in high school, that was done by a Spanish teacher, one of the Spanish teachers.
Yeah. We love spending.
We, schools,
So,
yeah.
all right, so it's $10,000 to lay out and design the yearbook, it appears. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
No,
All right, I will call it a day with that one. There were some other ones but I can email.
oh, yeah, fair enough.
What?
I was gonna say, don't feel limited,
Okay.
but,
Well, Counselor Lally, since you put it that way.
oh, we
No, no.
wanna put all this out, we don't want people thinking we're seeing stuff and then not
Right.
Ask
flagging
the
it.
question.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
This is definitely schools again, page 29. What do you need, the PO number?
The amount.
The amount is $2,347.20.
Narrative Operating Company?
Yes. Are they designing the yearbook too?
For that kind of money, probably.
This is print shop paper.
All right. Packing sheets, bills of lading. All right, so you said this was paper?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and must have been.
This is for Brockton High.
So it's $73 per, so 32, looks like 32 cases. It's $73 each, is that am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, okay. All right. That answers that. And then my final one that I had on my list is, oh wait, that's that one, sorry. It's on another page. Oh, yeah. Finally, one that's not the schools. It's page 6. Actually, no, I think it might be. It is. $9,998.84.
Brockton Police Department.
Yeah. GL account looks like it might be school, but maybe it's school police, I don't know. But it's 9,900. That item in total is 483 year to date, so that's definitely an area we're spending some bucks.
Could be
Oh,
details.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a detail for the school department.
Okay, so this has got to be the police details in front of schools.
Correct.
Okay, all right. No, I'm glad I grabbed that one, because that's an interesting one to mention, and I know it's pricey. I mean, we've paid $483,000 year to date for those details, but anybody who has picked their child up at one of our schools when there is no detail cop knows that it's an experience, quite an experience.
Correct. And we do get invoiced by the police department, as you can see.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it's very much
And it lists the,
itemized in a thorough way.
okay, very good. Yeah, they're very thorough, I appreciate that, actually. You get the school on there, the date.
Transparency.
No, that's very good that that's that detailed. I kind of wish all these invoices were
Right.
as detailed as this, because we know exactly who did it and where, and this is great. Much appreciated. Okay. All right, that was my last item. I did want to ask, and I apologize if putting you on the spot, at the last meeting, Karen had mentioned, and I've gotten questions since, prior to both your arrival, the open checkbook program had kind of gotten out of date, and she had mentioned that I think you were here, you guys are working on getting to a place where you can start to get that caught up again. I was just wondering if you have any update as far as progress on that effort.
It is something the city auditor has always considered. I will say that with the go live of our new Munis upgrade, it's something that I can anticipate definitely being looked at and executed probably this summer.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be a collaborative effort with the finance department and treasury. But now that we've got this upgrade under our belts, we're going to be seeing a lot more progress when it comes to, obviously, our mission goals with the city, being able to utilize this technology and actually have it work for us. But I do know that given this upgrade, we're going to start to see a green light for more things that have been pending.
Okay. You think sometime in the fall we'll probably see that?
I would say so. The city auditor would need to say specifically, but
Right.
I can say in confidence it's definitely something that will be discussed soon.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll look forward to updates on that as we go. All right. Counselors, anything else from either of you?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Motion to adjourn, properly seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.